So I'm Dr Linda Kaye and I'm a senior lecturer in psychology at Edge Hill University, and I guess I'm here today representing academic psychologists in this particular story. For most psychologists, academic psychologists included, probably one of the biggest things has just been the increased workload. I think being an academic psychologist, or academic generally, is such a multifaceted role anyway. But I think what happened when the pandemic initially hit was that every single aspect of the role was exacerbated in terms of workload. I suppose I've kind of looked at there's possibly sort of different phases in terms of how workload is sort of being impacted, and I suppose the initial stage was that kind of acute phase, where it's that kind of scramble. That's the best way I think to describe it. When national lockdown in England sort of hit, it was very much, we need to make sure that our students are supported. I think for most academic psychologists that was sort of the primary concern. So there was an increased demand to make sure students were okay. Sort of putting policies together very quickly for no detriment policies. How do we do exams when they can't sit in the same room as their peers? You know, all those kind of things. So there was that very kind of urgency about that, which kind of impacted on workload, and a lot of stress and extra kind of concerns about well-being from that perspective. But I think since then there's now then been this more chronic phase, which I think we're still very much ongoing. And what I can see a lot of is staff who are already very burnt out, and the academic year has only just started. And this is really to do with the fact that just the level and the intensity of academic planning for this current academic year. First of all, there was extending things like assessment periods in the previous academic year. So reassessment periods, for example, in many places got extended. There were blanket extensions for students. And so the time normally that academic staff might often use to take leave was reduced to start with. And then the sheer amount of planning and replanning and reconfigurating and restructuring curriculum design, timetabling, different ways of doing provision, and just that has taken a serious amount of time and energy from colleagues. And I do see we're at a critical point right now in it's make or break, I think, and many colleagues are really struggling in terms of well-being. So I think this is a point where, you know, it's critical really that academic psychologists are kind of represented in this, because, you know, I think there are a lot of ongoing issues in us really.